All right, perfect. So, good afternoon. My name is Carla D'Imperio. I'm the family support specialist for the Phelan-McDermid Syndrome Foundation, and I'm so excited to be here with Kailey Medlock, who is someone that I've known for many years. She was actually one of Matthew's early speech therapists. My son Matthew is 9 and has Phelan-McDermid syndrome, and Kailey would come to our home and support him with his AAC device that he still uses. So I would say she was very instrumental in developing him as an AAC user and supporting him and educating our family. And so Kailey is now moved on in her career and is working for FAST, which is, you're gonna have to help me here, the Florida Alliance for Assistive Services and Technology. Yes. Um, Good, I got it right. And she reached out to me recently, and we decided this would be a great opportunity to share her work with assistive tech with our Phelan-McDermid Syndrome Foundation community. So Kailey is the Training and Community Development Director. We have FAST in Florida, but there is an equivalent, which Kailey will talk about in other states. So a lot of what she talks about today, even if you're not in Florida, will still be relevant to you. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kailey. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks, Carla. I appreciate it. And I have appreciated the excuse for us to connect again. It was a lovely time working with Matthew and your family. And present company might be surprised. At that time, I had 3 Phelan-McDermid diagnosed clients on my caseload at that time. And for such a rare diagnosis, I was blown away. I talk about Phelan-McDermid all the time. I'm wearing my Feeling Lucky shirt. I make sure to wear it October 22nd, right? Is the date?
Yeah.
Every year I wear it. And I am a proud spreader of knowledge of the Phelan-McDermid world. So while I'm introducing myself, if you all could put in the chat where you are in the world and also the age of the person you support. I tried to tailor this to obviously all of the Phelan-McDermid assistive technology needs, but it was a very drastic difference between Matthew and the 2 others that I was treating at that time. It's a very diverse spectrum of people in this diagnosis. Obviously, they have a lot of the same characteristics, being that it's the same genetic malformation, but it was a really eye-opening experience how different these kids really were. So let's get started.
And let me just, if you don't mind, I forgot to mention, you all are welcome to do what I did with my name bar and put your name. I put Carla, mom to Matthew, age 9, Florida. That way Kailey can just see at a glance who she's got here, but if not, totally fine as well. So, and if you have questions, feel free to use the raise your hand. And I will, if she doesn't see your question, I'll make sure to call on you.
I will try and stay on top of it because I would like you guys to be an active group in the question asking, because I'm here for you. I'm here to educate you all about assistive technology and hopefully offer you some things you didn't know existed before, or give you some ideas for ways to make your and your loved one's life a little bit better. So Carla gave a great introduction. I'm a speech pathologist. I have been for over a decade. I went to the University of South Florida and achieved my bachelor's, and then went off to Boston for Mass General Hospital's master's program and loved that experience, but this is home. So I came back in 2016 to raise my family and started a private practice that I had the honor of working with Carla under, and I am a Tampa Bay native who will probably be here for the rest of my life. So I love my job. Carla and I were just talking about it. I've been passionate mostly about the most complex communicators in my career. That's why I started my practice, was because I wasn't finding those clients that I had the passion for, the Matthews. I just loved the complexities of the motivators and the receptive language, and the troubleshooting of assistive technology is just such a unique part of being a speech pathologist that I had to go find it myself. Hi, is it Syra? I hope I'm saying that right. Syra? All right, let's get going. So we do have just a brief disclaimer. FAST does not endorse any specific brand or item mentioned in our presentation. We do aim to inform you about available options, but we do recommend that you consult a professional for personalized advice for your loved one. And all the devices in this presentation today are available through our core services. I like to be kind of upfront. We don't sell anything. So by no means am I selling you anything. All of our services almost exactly all of our services are completely free. So I'm just here to educate and hope that you learn something about assistive technology and get some services from us in the future, I hope. Briefly on the agenda today, the first half is going to be a discussion just of assistive technology in general, what it is, why we use it, the different ways we categorize it, and then specific recommendations for things that I thought Phelan-McDermid families might benefit from. And then the second half is when we'll dive into the FAST stuff. So FAST being the Florida-based AT Act program, but like Carla said, I will be sharing about how you can find your equivalent in your state. The only thing I can't help is if you're out of the country. I know all the AT Act programs in the state and territories, but out of that, I had a Canadian ask me what AT Act program, and I said, I got nothing for you. Even my Google searches were not helpful. So I hope we're all in the US and we have services. Oh my gosh, so sorry. Okay. The goal of assistive technology. Using the raise hand feature, I would like you all to tell me if you think that you use assistive technology in your life right now, currently. Do you think it's something you already know and do?
And just for those of you that might not know, raise hand is under that reactions. You click reactions and then raise hand is the feature there.
Thank you, Carla. Yeah. Trying to be able to see everybody at the same time so I can see your hands. I agree. Yes, if you raised your hand, I would be for sure, and not just for your loved one with Phelan-McDermid, but also yourself. I'd say we all probably, and once I get through this, I hope all the hands would be raised that yes, we all integrate assistive technology into our lives, all for the same reason, to increase function. It is any tool or strategy that is used to make you more independent, become independent again if it's something you lost as you age, but being as functional and independent as possible is the whole goal of assistive technology. Let's dive into how we categorize technology. So we are very fortunate to live in a time where assistive technology is in our pockets and at our fingertips all the time. So I made this spectrum just as a brief glance at the availability of assistive technology. So on the left is our mainstream tech, our phones, our computers. Most families have an Alexa or a different virtual assistant in their home. AI is everywhere. I know I'm using it to compose emails left and right. They're all available to us at all times. Towards the middle of this spectrum is where we get to the meat and potatoes of what you and I think of as assistive technology, tools that were built for people with disabilities to become more independent. We've got communication aids there in the middle that we'll talk details about. Smart homes, definitely blowing up. That's what the symbol with the house and the little Wi-Fi symbol. Smart homes, yeah, that is considered assistive technology, and it's blowing up in the AT world, is making people stay in their homes as long as possible and be as independent as they can. As we move more to the right, we get the more customized assistive technology, things that you can't get over the counter or from a specialized device making company. It's customized for that specific person. And we are, again, very lucky to live in a time where assistive technology can pretty much be made on the fly with moldable plastics. That's what this red scooper, I don't know if y'all can see my cursor. This red scooper down here is moldable plastic that can be used. You warm it up and you melt it down, and you can make any shape of anything you need to enhance a grip on a pen, to help you grasp things on the fridge. There's endless possibilities for moldable plastics. There's AT makers groups all over our nation that help need knowers, is what they're called. Someone comes to them and said, I have this need. I can't find the assistive technology that I'm looking for. Can you help me make it? And there's super smart people out there that make assistive technology customized for a specific person. And this top one is just a customized 3D printed utensil holder. So that was I wanted you to keep in your brain as we're going through all of these, that literally some of the assistive technology, or AT, if you're okay, I'll be using that acronym probably for the rest of the presentation. AT can be any of these things. Super mainstream. Oh, wait, I can just add that to my phone and make it more accessible for my loved one. Okay, I could do that in the next 5 minutes versus, okay, I got to find someone to help me make something. So the possibilities are endless. And we at FAST try to stay on top of it all. It's not easy. Assistive technology changes by the minute. So that is kind of our job, and my role is to stay on top of it and make people aware of what's out there, because you don't know what you don't know, right? Next one. All right, so now let's talk about how we categorize technology in a low, mid, and high tech. So these are just kind of brief descriptions that I put together, but in the presentation following, if I call something no tech or low tech, what I'm talking about is something that doesn't require electricity of any kind. They're typically more affordable, typically more affordable. They're more readily available. It doesn't need any batteries or plugs. It does mostly just one thing, but you may need something higher tech to create it. And I'll talk about that later. We're going to skip over mid for right now and jump into the high, because high tech is something that everybody probably knows what I'm talking about when I say high-tech assistive technology. The AAC devices, the eye gaze, the iPads, all of the things that are powered. They might have lots of multiple functions. They do more than one thing. Typically has a synthesized voice like a Siri or a robotic voice. It's more expensive typically. And customizable is definitely a big piece of high tech typically. And they're just more sophisticated piece of equipment. And then everything kind of else just falls in the middle. If it's battery powered, maybe it needs to be charged. It's mechanical. Typically these devices, when we're talking about augmentative and alternative communication, or AAC, it's those devices that you record your voice on them, that you hold down the button and you record your voice, and then you hit the button, it'll say it again. It's powered, it's not low tech, it's mid, but it still requires some kind of mechanical equipment for it to function. So again, as we're going through the assistive technology that we'll be chatting about, keep in mind there's typically no tech or low tech, kind of interchangeable, mid tech and high tech options for all of the activities that we try to accomplish. All right, now these are the nationally agreed upon AT categories. I want you to take a second and I'll briefly read through them. And you don't have to say anything or raise your hand, but just think about which categories kind of fit your loved one. Which ones are applicable to your person with Phelan-McDermid? Vision, not a big piece of the diagnosis, right? Maybe it is. Hearing, speech communication, definitely a big one, right? It's probably safe to assume that you all are working on communication with your loved one. Mobility might be a bit of a challenge as they're developing, right? Modifying a vehicle, transportation, seating and positioning. Jumping down to computer access. Sometimes just using a traditional old mouse and it's moving ahead with moving my mouse. Sometimes just a traditional mouse and keyboard isn't enough. You need different ways to access the computer. Learning, memory, and cognition, definitely a big category for you all. Activities of daily living, adapting your environment to make it more accessible. And rec, sports, and leisure. We can't forget about the fun. I mean, we're here, that's part of living, and being an active part of society is having a good time. So we are going to talk about some technology, AT, for recreation as well. So let's talk about the executive function piece. By executive function, I mean those higher level tasks that require memory, they require planning, they require pre-thought, things like that. So sometimes that can be a challenge for our loved ones, and there's tools out there. By no means am I going to say I'm covering all of them, but just some ideas for ways to improve or support someone's executive function, like a visual schedule. I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of visual schedules, and they come in low, mid, and high-tech versions, obviously. Making something like this on the left, the My Daily Schedule, they can be removable with Velcro. They can just be on a flat laminated sheet. This is the low-tech option, but this is what I mentioned before when I said you might need something high-tech to create it, right? You couldn't make this just with paper. You need a computer, you would need the software to create it. You could make it in a Word document. I'm sure you're all very impressive behind the keyboard, but it's a lot easier when you have the rather expensive software to make it, of course. But the possibilities are endless with making a visual schedule. Is it a big picture of my whole day? First, I wake up, then I eat breakfast, then I go to school, then we come home, we play, bed. Or am I breaking down a task that I want them to be more independent in? For example, getting dressed in the morning, right? This is a high-tech option. It is an app on an iPad where they check off each step to getting dressed. For someone who needs more support, just saying getting dressed is not enough to support them. They need, okay, we need to put on our underwear, pull on our pants, put on our shirt. It can be broken down in any customizable way. The power of visual schedules is big. We're going to jump over to this one on the right called the Goalie. It is a dedicated device specifically for these things. It's set up by the loved one, the caregiver, and it's customized for the person to say, like, these are the schedules that he needs to follow, and he can check them off. It's super customizable, but again, it's a more high-tech version. Sometimes you just need a piece of paper that's going to go with you to and from school, right? You can have 20 of the visual schedules around the house. You can't buy 20 goalies. So there's benefit, definitely. Not saying high versus low is better than the other. They are all just as powerful. So more executive function things. I don't know about you, but timers are big in my family. It just helps so much to see that time is moving. There is an end. There's an audible ring when it's time, and not just I want you to think about it in two different ways, possibly earning something that's preferred. Okay, he wants to watch Daniel Tiger. Thinking about you, Carla. He loves Daniel Tiger. He wants to watch Daniel Tiger, but we're doing something else right now, right? I'm going to set my timer. We're still going to have to refer to the timer, but at least he has a visual to go look at, right? We're going to watch Daniel Tiger when the timer is done. So he's going to earn something that's preferred at the end of it. But it could also be used in the reverse, right? You want to remain doing something that's non-preferred, right? Like we're practicing our handwriting. Oh boy, we hate handwriting. We're ready to be done handwriting, right? But okay, we only have 5 more minutes practicing. And then sort of like a reward at the end, you get to be done, right? A visual timer helps you focus on the tasks and hopefully fade it away, right? After you've done 5 minutes on the timer a few times, they might start to grasp, okay, I have an idea of how long 5 minutes is. And I have a better idea of, oh, there is an end to it. When mom says that there's 5 minutes left, okay, there's this, I can push through for 5 more minutes, and then you can fade those things away. So a cube timer, similar, but kind of pre-built in. They light up when the 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever you have side up, goes off. Pretty cool. And then a little more on the higher tech side is the Revibe wristband, something that, again, the caregiver presets the alarms to go off, and it would for the bathroom per se, every 45 minutes, you'd like them to go try using the bathroom. It would go off at that time, and they would, with enough prompting, learn, oh, when that goes off, it's time for me to use the bathroom. So it's those executive function things, being independent. I just staying as functional and independent as possible. And now these last two, I was thinking about the population I would be speaking to, and I thought you all could probably use some assistive technology as well. You all are managing so many things at once with these loved ones that you are caring for. And sometimes it's too much. Things get forgotten. Things get looked over. Then there's the guilt, right? You don't want to forget things. You have to stay on top of it all. I'm sure they're not your only loved one you have to care for. So giving yourselves a little grace and saying, I need some assistive technology to help me stay on top of life, right? So a virtual assistant, you might be using one already. Just saying, hey, can you remind me in 30 minutes to, tell Matthew to use the bathroom? Whatever. Like the possibilities are endless, right? But also management of medications can be a big stressor for people. And I just grabbed this one visual of Live Fine Automatic, but there are so many options for medication management these days. There's even higher tech ones. I'm going to blank on the name of it. If you're interested, I can look it up. But you put all the meds in and they kind of just spill out all at the right time. It's targeted more for the older population that have, lots of meds throughout the day, and it helps them stay on top of it. But if you're worried that you're, pre-program it so that there's no mistakes, right? It's just going to spill out when you need it, and you know how much and when, right? So assistive technology is not just for our loved ones, but for us too. All right. You knew I had to talk about communication. Being an SLP, and it's a huge piece of the Phelan-McDermid diagnosis. So you all have a talk coming up with Kate Ahern. I hope I say her name right. I think I've only seen it in writing. Ahern? Wonderful.
I've always said Ahern, but I think it's Ahern.
Ahern.
I always say it wrong.
Ahern. I hope she doesn't watch this and get upset. So she is a superstar. I'm talking celebrity in the SLP world. So I recommend, if you don't have a chance, I hope it's being recorded, go watch what she has to offer. But let's talk about the assistive technology that she might talk about in her Motivate, Model, Move Out of the Way. So this is the only one that I've categorized this way because it is such a big piece of your life, right? Communication is what makes us human, connecting with one another. So let's talk no and low first. And before we get anything that's printed, I want to focus on these ones down here: pointing and ASL. They are things that we have on our bodies. They are not assistive technology. It's no tech, right? I'm not going anywhere without my hands. It's not technology. Sorry, it's grouped on my AT slide, but I didn't want to discredit the power of that physical communication. You can have all the tools in the world. And you know what? I knew that he wanted milk because he brought me to the fridge and he opened it and he pointed. That is a very, very powerful and effective. It is no less than using his Unity to say, milk, please. It is just as powerful and just as wonderful. Of course, we want them to be a more complex communicator. We want them to show us more ideas than just the requesting. So that's where the assistive technology comes in and can really give us the tools we need to diversify. It's not just requesting, of course. It's commenting. It's telling someone we love them. It's telling someone we don't like them, right? Reporting and advocating for yourself is a really, really and big scary piece of, I'm sure, your life. We want them to be able to tell us when someone has wronged them or they're, they need help from you in some way. So back to the AT. So no or low stuff, so many possibilities. And I wanted to show just a few different ways that you could think about using your no or low tech communication aids, right? Holding it up in front of them, separating the letters to make them more apparent. By no means am I supporting any specific communication method here. It was just a picture of how to create the letters to possibly help them focus a little bit more. Here are some printed AAC boards just from a company that Assistive Wear. They're super smart SLPs that put together great layouts that you can just pull off the internet and print. That's all you need to do. And it can be super powerful. I don't want to get off on a tangent on my SLP stuff. I'm here to talk about assistive technology, but also I want you all to think about these things as a way for you to communicate with them as well. We cannot just put a piece of technology, and I say that loosely because it's a piece of paper sometimes. We can't put a piece of technology in front of someone and say, okay, why aren't you using it? We need to be using it. We need to be modeling and providing aided language stimulation, saying, I have no expectations from you, son. I'm just using, this is how I'm using it to communicate. So even if you don't see your loved one using them right away, don't give up on them. It's very possible, and it might not be a good fit. I'm not saying stick to something and go for it forever, but give it a shot and continue to use it repetitively throughout their life in a lot of different environments. We all know that repetition is important, but there's an added piece. Karen Erickson, I believe her name is. She's a big name in the A-tier world, but repetition with variation, right? You don't want to just be using this tool in one place for this one activity. They need to be carried over from one activity to the other. And that applies to all of this AT too, where it applies, specifically communication here. So here's one that they laminated and pasted to a boogie board so they could bring it in the pool with them. And you could do that with just a printed off the internet one or a screenshot if they do have a higher tech device. Screenshot that, print it, and then it looks just like it does on the screen, but it's in the pool. Pretty cool, right? So supporting communication in lots of different environments. This is an example of just one that somebody put Velcro strips. They organized it in a way that made sense to them. And now they put phrases together on the Velcro down here. Super affordable, super diverse, super attainable, right? Okay, now the mid-tech, the things that need batteries, you probably record your own voice on it, not as expandable, not as varied as a high-tech device, but also very powerful. So I like to just briefly go over some of these. So I didn't put the name here because you can see it clearly. A Go Talk. You might see these in the school system. Maybe they use it in the classroom. These are everywhere, but they've been kind of hard to buy lately. So their replacement is the Quick Talkers, and that's I'm going to blank on who makes these ones, but a Quick Talk, Googling Quick Talker, you'd be able to find them. So same function, just a different color, really different manufacturer. And there's different layouts you can put in them. So they come in different sizes, right? So this one has 7, and then there's 15, and then 23, I think. So if you're just emerging into the communication world and you don't want to be overwhelmed with too many buttons, a smaller option might be a good choice, but there's different layouts you can put in it. Say I had one for lunchtime and it's going to say more, like, don't like, finished. I don't know. You come up with some other good functional phrases, right? You take it out, you slide in another one for art time. You got a couple colors on there. You got the nouns that they need, but also, of course, the core words or verbs that they need, like more and like. So different layouts so that it's not just the 7 you see, it's 7 times however many layers. And the Go Talks do the same thing. If you have one of those, you get their program too. So you're not, when you slide in a new one, it's not, you have to re-record it. They're pre-recorded. And then there's the same concept, I Talk 4 and I Talk 2, as you record your voice. It could be something simple like a yes, no, or more finished, across activities, right? While you're eating, you can move this to the game room. You can move this to the bedtime, to the reading routine. Very mobile and accessible. I like these Big Macs, and there's lots of different sizes, right? There's little Macs, there's different sizes, but they're one message at a time. Some of them can be what they call step by AbleNet. Thank you, Carla. Quick Talker, AbleNet makes those ones. Some of them can be called step by steps to help with the conversational turn taking. Let's say we wanted them to say a knock knock joke, right? And so we would record knock knock, canoe. Canoe come out to play? So just the portion that they would be saying, and then they could partake in the turn taking joke. So it's not just a one message per se, but some of those can be around the house too. I like to use those as, like, say you stuck one up by the bathroom, right? There's one button there and says, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. And then there's an audible cue that your son went to the bathroom, right? It's like, okay, he said he needed to go to the bathroom. It's kind of inserting the communication to where they already are when they're going. So, and then of course, I hope that we've all kind of been familiar with what a high-tech augmentative communication devices. There's lots of manufacturers, there's lots of softwares. We're not going to get into all the specifics of those today, but super powerful, keeping it with them all the time, doing that aided language stimulation, which is just a fancy word for using it, right? Modeling it. I use that when I'm talking about an expectation, right? I'm showing you to hit more, to show, okay, this is more, you hit more, but aided language is just like, oh, I want more. I'm going to hit more on there and show you that I got more because I did that, with alleviating the expectation from the communicator. It's like, oh, she got more when she hit that. Maybe I'll get more. So if you have any specific questions about high-tech AAC, I would love to talk to you about that, but I could talk for a whole hour. So let's move on.
Kailey, can I just add two quick things? One is that with the conference, I was communicating with PRC and some contacts in Minnesota, and they gave PMSF a year-long subscription to the language lab. So if any of you all on here see something you like with the, you know, the no and low tech, there's potentially printables that I have access to that I can help you with getting through the PRC language lab. So that would be already like pre-populated. So that's just one, just let me know if that's something you're
Yeah.
interested in. And then I was just on with a mom like 2 days ago who had a Big Mac button for her daughter to ask for help with one specific thing, and then also has an Accent 1000 she uses in general. So the Big Mac is in the kitchen. They use that for one thing that she needs to, you know, that's important. And then they still have her using a high-tech device. So you can, you know, use both and try them and see. And I think that those buttons are on Amazon for pretty inexpensive. That's
Yes.
it. Sorry.
No, those were wonderful. And anything to make the AAC making easier, yes, take advantage of that language lab. I haven't been on it in a couple years, but I remember loving the resources. So please take Carla up on that. Thank you. All right, let's talk recreation and play. That's a huge part of my life. So let's do it. So let's say that your loved one is struggling a little bit with traditional toys and they're not accessing it like they're supposed to. They're kind of just playing with other ways. Switch adapted toys. They're becoming much more available just on Amazon. You can buy a Switch adapted toy, which is super cool. And then there's also Switch varieties. This is just a small snapshot of the variety of Switches that are out there. I don't know how much of you, struggle with like mobility, like say that maybe one side of their body is stronger than the other. Then placement of Switches and accessibility is huge. It's just important to know that there are a ton of options, and knowing that your OT or your speech pathologist will hopefully have an idea of like, you know what, let's try this type of Switch. Some of them, this one here, I think, blow and suck will be the Switch, right? Like I could put it in my mouth and when I blow on it, the toy starts to go off. It's just, I'm just emphasizing that the possibilities are endless. Also, the Xbox has an over-the-counter adapted controller that on the back here across the top is a ton of different Switch ports that when you plug all these switches in, you could do all the same things that a traditional Xbox overwhelming remote. If you ask me, you put it in my hands, and I'm used to it in like Nintendo 64. That's way too many buttons for me. But it's adapted to make it more accessible so that we can play along with our older siblings or our dad or mom, whoever plays video games in the house. So definitely a fun option. I know that some fine motor skills can be tough. So even just something simple like this plastic card holder, we can be part of the family game night. We can have the cards and we can play without, well, alleviating some of the frustrations of like, oh, I can see his cards. They're all on the table. All that stuff's keeping some privacy. They can be just as interactive in the family as everyone else. Adapted utensils. I don't know about you, but eating is a big part of my recreational life. And sometimes it can get messy. So and this is another just small snapshot of available things. Sometimes adding a little bit of girth to the handle can be what they need. Sometimes it needs a little bit of weight, a turn, whatever, a scooped plate to keep it on the plate so they don't get it all over the table. Options are out there. Talk to your OTs. There's so many different types of tools. There's even this little silicone handle that you could transfer to you can do writing utensils, eating utensils, hairbrushes, all the things. And it just helps keep it on your hand so that even if I wish I had a photo of it next time. It's just a silicone thing you slide over and it holds over your hand so that even when you opened it, the pen or hairbrush would not drop. Something super simple that you get on Amazon could be big life-changing thing for self-help. This one up here at the top, guided hands. I don't know if anyone has seen this. It's kind of blowing up in the AT world, but maybe not in your life. So it's a 3D printed and manufactured wrist strap, and it has bars going down the side of it and a bar going across the front. And you strap your wrist to this mechanism here and you hold it's got several different types of grips, but you put your hand on top of it. And so it kind of stabilizes your wrist and you can slide right to left, but also front to back. So you can access the whole page, but it just gives you a little bit of that restriction. Sometimes a little restriction is good, right? Keeping it steady, and you can slide back and forth. You could use it for accessing. See this one, she's got a stylus for an iPad, a pen, a paintbrush, filling in a crossword. The possibilities are endless. It's if you have any discoordination or struggle holding on to a pen, this could be, it's pretty affordable option, but I'll talk about how you can try one with us too. See if it's a good fit. All right, next one. School and work. This is why I wanted to know how old we were. I see Kaden might be moving up into the working world soon, but a lot of you are still school age. So there's lots of things that I'm sure maybe are on their IEPs already, and your school team is so great, you know about all this stuff. But I just wanted to compile a few things that I thought you hadn't considered yet. So say we're struggling to do the handwriting, right? So many different types of utensil grips to try to help them stabilize and press hard enough and write their name and all their schoolwork. Reading guides, just again, a very low-tech highlighted plastic piece that we slide down the page to help them track where they are on the page. That's it. This boogie board's a fun way to write a few things and clear it. It's a good way to practice those handwriting skills. I don't know about you, but paper management and book management can be kind of tough when we're doing it all. So sometimes just propping it up on a book stand that could give them access to looking at that while they're trying to write. Super simple. Oh, as we're moving to the right here, we're going from low tech to high tech. I didn't group them like I did the communication ones, but it's still the same vibe. Going left to right. The talking calculator, you type in the numbers and it literally says them out to you. That's it. How valuable could that be if you're struggling to understand the concept of the numbers, but you hear 45? Okay, I know what 45 is, right? So you could the numbers talk to you. A pretty cool option. I wanted to show you these two, but very tiny small sample of the available options for mice and keyboards. Oh my gosh, you could go down a rabbit hole and talk about those for an hour or two. There's a mouse that you wear on your head and it's got a bite switch and you use it to look at the screen, and when you bite, it clicks. I didn't include it because I didn't think that mobility would be really applicable to this group, but just knowing that so many different options for accessing the computer. It's a crucial part of our lives. So we've made the world has made lots of ways to access it, which is super cool. And I couldn't talk school and work without talking about just general accessibility features on what you already have. You've got the iPhones, the iPads, the non-i products too, of course, the computers, and I tell you, every update that comes out, there's usually something new that is accessibility within your iPhone. So it's worth exploring. I could do a whole presentation on all of those, but if you have a need and you're like, oh, I wish that it could read my text to me, before you go buy an app, before you do anything, go explore those features. It has so much powerful stuff in it. This C Pen is a text to voice reader. So it requires a little bit more dexterity and precision. You hold it and you have to scan it over the lines and it'll read the text out loud. There's of course a headset too that you could put on so it doesn't have to read to the whole class, but you scan it over it and it'll read as you go. It has dictionary features to look up other words, which is great. But this OrCam is the same type of thing, but a lot more powerful. So it's more, you take a picture of the whole page and it reads the whole page to you all at once. It does not require that, scanning. It doesn't have to be specific. You could scan the side of my Celsius can and it would read the ingredients for me, right? Like and it does so many more things than that, but I kind of put it in here for the school and work piece. So getting the text to the ears without requiring a human is a great tool. All right. A little over schedule here, but that's okay. So sensory needs. I think every person in this room has sensory needs, those knee bouncers, those I'm overstimulated, I need to remove myself. So let's talk sensory averting, we're hypersensitive to certain senses, right? All five. Let's think sound, vision. I'm hearing blurbs. I assume you're handling things, Carla. I don't know what that was. Okay, thanks. Okay, good. I'm oversensitive to things. A lot of AT doesn't exist for that because a lot of it requires removing things, right? So say like I'm sensitive to my tags. I got to take those tags out. I'm feeling sensory overload. you got to take things away. It's hard to provide AT for that, but noise canceling headphones are one of it. My life is too noisy. I'm getting anxious. Noise canceling can be huge. I gave this presentation to a group of college kids and they're like, what about sunglasses? The lights were too bright. I'm like, that was a great point. I should have added sunglasses to my presentation. They could be sensory averting tools for sure, but the big piece of sensory needs are the seeking, right? Sensory seeking. I like to feel things across, like not just feel with my hands, but look with my eyes, hear with my ears, sometimes taste with my mouth, right? I like to seek that sensory input. And boy, do we live in a world that provides. We have so many things. If just briefly, because I am a little over schedule here, but these chair bands, if you haven't considered it, you've got a student that cannot sit, they just need to fidget, they need to move. This is a rather quiet, not completely quiet option for them. Also this one, I need to rock and move while I'm sitting in order to focus and actually work on what's on my desk. This comes in a kit where it's hard to see, but there's an inflated seat there with some sensory bumps, and it comes with this rocker kit. It's like a piece of wood that rocks back and forth. It just gives you that sensory movement so your brain can work on other things. Compression vests can be great for centering, weighted pillows and pads of all kinds. There's Snuggies and blankets, and we know the fidgets. I'm sure we've all enjoyed a fidget or two, right? But sometimes just getting that sensory need, the chewing, the whatever you need at the time can be really powerful. And I wanted you, this is another, I believe Enabling Devices makes this kit. It's rather expensive, but we have it. So you could piecemeal these things and borrow them from us. But again, just sensory input. I like the way vibration feels. This toy is going to help teach me cause and effect, because I know that when I touch it, it vibrates. When I push it, it makes all this music, right? There's so many options out there for sensory input. So, okay, that was the end of my AT for Phelan-McDermid portion of today's presentation, but I hope that what you got out of that, and I hope you don't mind, I snagged that adorable picture from your website for this presentation. So obviously assistive technology promotes self-esteem, improves quality of life, increases enjoyment, enhances performance, and increases independence. It is super powerful, and I didn't even touch on a small fraction of what exists. So I hope that you take advantage of our services, because that's literally what we do. So FAST, Florida Alliance of Assistive Services and Technology. We are Florida's AT Act program. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year because in 1994, some big Congress people signed something that said in every state and territory, an AT Act program has to exist. We are Florida's. Unfortunately, is not as easy as just replacing Florida with a different state. It's not the Georgia Alliance. They all have different names. So if you are not in Florida, the services I'm talking about exist where you are if you live in the US, but you can find them by going to this website here. I know Carla included it in the invitation, so it is on the Facebook and socials. You can click on it there, but you also will get this presentation. But you go to this website, you literally scroll down, it's alphabetical, click on your state, and you'll have all the contact information for your AT Act program.
I just put it in the chat too.
Thank you, Maya. Perfect.
Welcome.
Okay, so 30 years we've been doing this. AT has changed so drastically. We're doing our best to stay on top of it, but let's talk about how we provide. Oh, let me tell you our mission and vision first. Then we'll talk about how we provide these services. We hope that our mission is to improve the quality of life for Floridians with disabilities by increasing awareness of and access to AT. And our vision is that we'd like everybody with disabilities to have the AT they need to lead their fullest lives. Okay. Who do we serve? Literally anyone is the answer. We do not care who you are. As long as you live in Florida, we can help you. The person with the disability themselves, the person who supports them, people with age. Oh, sorry, I moved on to this one. The person with disability, somebody who's aging, right? And I've been independent doing this my whole life, and now all of a sudden I can't cook anymore. There's tools we have. Let's explore it, right? Their family members, guardians, and other representatives. You sitting in this room right now. And then of course, representatives of education, employment, health, allied health, rehabilitation, community living, and technology. As a speech pathologist, I wish I used FAST services more. Like I said, they don't care who you are. There's no stipulation. There's no referral needed. We are here to help if you live in Florida. Okay. And we serve you all by these 6 things. And to save time, I'm not going to read them. We're just going to dive right into public awareness and training. You don't know what you don't know, right? So you're looking at it. I am doing my public awareness by meeting with you all and sharing with you what AT exists that might help, networking, getting our name out there. We've been around for 30 years and there's a large part of the Florida population that don't know we exist and we just want to help. So exhibiting, if you want to give us a follow, my mouse is so sensitive. I need to change those settings. I'm so sorry. If you want to give us a follow on Facebook or Instagram, that would be a big help. You know how that goes. The more interest we get, the more widespread Facebook will think we are. So appreciate that. Training. Big part of my job. Any activity that enhances AT knowledge, skills, and competencies. And we train on the assistive technology that we have in our library or yours. If you had a piece of AT that you got 2 years ago and it's been sitting in a closet and you thought it was going to be really helpful, but you're not really sure how to use it and you haven't implemented it, we'll come out and help you orient to it. We have no stipulation on what the tech is. You might teach us something if we didn't know about it already. So things we might try to accomplish with training is just knowing the benefits of a specific piece of AT, funding sources that help acquire AT. We have not talked about funding, but AT does not exist without funding. It needs to get paid for. So we'll briefly touch on that a little bit later. We train on skills development to help assess the need for AT, feature matching to ensure appropriate AT is chosen, technical training of how to integrate it into your life, and also problem solving to avoid that AT abandonment. You got this because you thought it was going to work. Let's not abandon ship too early. Let's give it a good college try and we'll keep it in your life for a little bit longer to see if it is a good fit. Maybe try a few other strategies. So jumping over to information and assistance. If you need information about what a person with a disability might need, we have a plethora of devices to share with you, services, including data regarding provider availability across the state. We try to keep an up-to-date list of therapists that are well-versed in assistive technology to help you guide you in this process, because a lot of these, a piece of AT, a very expensive piece of AT, can just be a paperweight if it's not trained well enough and you don't have a good team to integrate it. And also information about funding through public and private sources. If you call FAST, you're going to talk to a guy named Tim McCann. He has been doing this for a very long time and he is my resource guru. So please reach out to him. He loves to help. Okay, device demonstrations. This green line is my favorite. These 2 things, device demonstration and short-term loans, this is the gold. All right, so device demos. You don't know what you don't know. I don't know how many times I can say that, but you could go into one of our centers and I'll tell you about them, or in your state, right? There's centers in your state, but they have this library of assistive technology. And so a demonstration would be, oh, you didn't know this exists? Here's this mouse. Here's how it works. I plugged it in. I show you how to do it. So you're learning the functions of a piece of AT, or you're comparing multiple devices and their features. You can try a device before purchasing. The title of this talk, making informed decisions about assistive technology. It's not helping anyone to just go on Amazon and buy something and it sits in your closet, right? So trying it before you buy it can be huge. And then troubleshooting any hurdles. If you've, got your iPad and it was working so well, but it's acting buggy and you can't figure out why it keeps stalling or shutting down, demonstrating how to troubleshoot those things can be really helpful. Device loans. This can really, really help somebody make an informed purchase. So rather than just buying it, we will loan you devices for completely free for a month. Any device that we've talked about here today, or it's on our website, or even if the AT, we don't have it in our library, we'll try our best to get it for you. But low tech, mid tech, high tech, across all of those subcategories of assistive technology, we will ship it to you. You don't even have to come into our site. You just tell us you live in Florida, give us your address, and we'll ship it to you to try with all the shipping you need to send it back to us. We don't want you spending any money on making these AT decisions. You're spending enough on the AT itself. So this short-term device loans, Assist in decision making, can serve as a loaner if you're waiting for your device to be fixed or you're waiting for funding to come through. To provide an accommodation on a short-term basis. Let's say a loved one, I don't know, had a stroke and they just temporarily need a communication support, right? You don't need it for that long. Why would you need to buy something? Just borrow it from us for a month and then give it back and put it under someone else's name for a month. We don't care. Just take it, use it. And then also for professional development. I wish I knew about FAST sooner as a speech pathologist, because augmentative communication is no joke. There is a lot of apps and a lot of hardware and a lot of things to learn. And until you get your hands on it and you actually play with it and learn about it, there's only so much online learning can do, right? So taking it home, trying it out, putting it in front of your loved one to see how well they respond to those images as opposed to a different app can make a big difference. Okay, device reuse and reutilization. This is a big one, a lot for like durable medical equipment. If you utilize wheelchairs or walkers or any other mobility stuff around the home, shower chairs, this reuse program, it provides exchange, repair, recycling, and other reutilization for assistive technology devices. So for this program, we have partnered with our Centers for Independent Living. Other states might do it a little bit differently, but every Center for Independent Living, which if you're not familiar with that is, we can send it in the chat too, but they have their own core services for persons with disabilities, but at each site, they're housing our reuse center. So you could bring something in that you're either not using anymore, it's been collecting dust, you thought he was going to use it, but you didn't. Turn it in and we will fix it up if it needs to be, and then get it back out into someone's home who needs it. That is the only service that we offer that actually gives anything away for free. Unfortunately, we don't give any away and like I said before, we don't sell anything and we don't give anything away except for this reuse. If you donate us something, we will redonate it out into the community. We also provide, you could list it yourself, even for a cost. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure you could like resell your assistive technology through the Centers for Independent Living, I think. Things are changing a little bit in our reuse program. So, oh my gosh. Okay, that's reuse. And the very last one, because I do want to have time for questions, is the financial loans. And this is the only program we have that we do earn a little bit of money from our constituents. So if your funding did not come through, or they've denied it, or you have a deductible that's too high for whatever reason, you need to buy assistive technology and don't have, the SILs are in the chat. SILs being Centers for Independent Living are in the chat. Thank you, Carla. So we can provide that financial loan at a low interest rate to you to buy assistive technology. And our stipulations for approving are a little bit lower than the banks. We want you to get this assistive technology. So we are going to do everything we can to give you the loan you need to get this. And this is for, a lot of people use it for like things like hearing aids, but also like vehicle modifications. Those can be very expensive. So people use the financial loans for things like that, but also for telework, self-employment, which can assist in getting equipment for seeking self-employment opportunities. It's another subcategory of our financial loan. So it can be really helpful. But in my mind, assistive technology should be as free as possible. That would be ideal, right? So last resort, maybe not, but it's definitely an option. It's an option for you to have for funding for your assistive technology. Okay, how do you access our resources? You would contact your regional demonstration center or your state's assistive technology program. Like I said, we don't need a referral. We don't care who you are. And most services are provided at no cost. That little tiny asterisk is for the interest rate on the financial loans, but that's the only thing. Everything else is completely free. And just a screenshot of our website so that you are oriented just a little bit if you try to get there yourself. Under the services tab, you'll see all those different ones that I listed. The Step Up AT for early literacy is really great too, but it's based out of Miami. So I think somebody on the call is from Miami. Definitely worth looking into, but that's not available across the state. And then under resources, you'll click on regional service centers and you'll find a list of all of our sites. So Florida's big. We got a lot of real estate to cover. We do that with 11 sites across the state. And we partner with things like hospitals, universities, centers for independent living. I think that's the big three. All of them are housed in like partner programs. I wanted you to make sure you're aware of that AT3 center again, in case you're not a Floridian. But under that website, regional service centers, you'll see the list and find all the contact information for each of these. They all serve a certain group of counties. So whichever county you're in, if you need help finding it, let me know. I'm happy to direct you to the right person. And that's it. There's my contact information and general contact. If you just wanted to reach out to FAST yourself, don't forget to go to AT3 Center. But those services that I listed, they will be available in your state as well. So we've got 3 minutes. If everybody has to drop off at 1, I wanted to say thank you again for allowing me to be here. I love sharing about assistive technology, and I love my Phelan-McDermid let's call them students, kids, adults. So I really appreciate your time and allowing me to be here.
And I have the Zoom until 1:15 if you're able to stay on, Kailey, if people wanted to ask any additional questions. So yeah, go ahead.
We covered a lot.
I think one thing people aren't aware of too is that there's, before having to think about a loan, there's always using the waiver funding for, your state waiver funding for assistive tech, not just for AAC devices, but for a variety of the things that Kailey talked about. There's grants. There is like for Matthew, he got his device through the school system. So we did have to do that trial piece, which is good to do anyway when you're choosing something, but we had to try some different cheaper options before they would spring for the accent, to make sure that was really what he needed. But using the library, the lending that Kailey is describing would really be helpful with getting your hands on some of those different choices.
Carla, would you say that you guys use you guys use a lot of the AT I talked about? Definitely cover the communication. He uses eating aids too, right?
He does, but you've got me really thinking about the buttons and some of the lower, like the mid-tech stuff that
oh good.
I think there could be some cool uses for those for him. Yeah. There's so much out there. That one that you showed with the 3D printed hand support is really interesting.
Borrow it. Yeah.
Well, we're not quite there yet with, I don't know about everyone else on the call, but Matthew's not quite there yet with writing. But someday, hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to just unmute and ask away if you do.
I just covered it all so good.
Yeah, you just did it. Well, it's crickets out there. So if you think of anything, I did put Kailey's email in the chat, and feel free to reach out. Like she said, you all have a center like this in your state, not just Florida. It's amazing. There's so much available. So thank you so much. I learned a lot. I think I'm going to look back at your slides. I'll send them out to everybody as well.
Yes, please.
Look at some of those different options and how we could integrate them with Matthew.
Sounds great, Carla. Thanks so much for having me.
I just want to share one thing before we go. I did find one picture to show.
Oh, you did?
I did. So Kailey started seeing Matthew for private speech therapy, like I mentioned back in, I think, 2019, which seems unbelievable to me, but that's what she tells me. I feel like I've known her so long. But anyway, this is a picture. Let me just pull it up and then I'll share my screen. This is during the pandemic when we were seeing Kailey at her little clinic. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna get there, guys. Here we go. And you can see us in our masks. And Kailey's got her, what was that thing? The face shield.
Oh, the face shield. Oh, I'm so glad those are out of my life.
But he was a little guy then. I think he was maybe, well, it was 2020, so he was 5. So
oh, sweet boy. I'm so glad you found that. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much. This was great. And you all please follow up if you have any questions. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks, Carla. You too, guys.
Okay, take care. Bye now.